And here we go. Welcome to the Truth Bomb Live. That's what we call ourselves. Yeah, totally. So always excited to be hanging out and talking about the do's and don'ts of being a female entrepreneur. Because what's interesting is that we tend to get into female entrepreneurship thinking we can just follow the same old rules like everybody else. But what if I told you that was a lie? I know.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, the do's and don'ts around it are insane. And I don't think we recognize half of them most of the time that we should and shouldn't be doing as female entrepreneurs. So, for a quick introduction, if we haven't met yet, my name is Chef Katrina. I am one of the co-creators, co-founders of the Truth Bomb Academy. I love having fun and play around systems and organization in terms of how to keep a business running smoothly without overwhelming yourself in the world of technology. There's a crap ton of information that's coming at you 24/7. What if we could slow it down and let you implement at your pace, not at their pace?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm Heidi. I'm Heidi Muma, and I like to help women create that profit, or actually realize the profit that they are creating in their business as they manage their cash in a way that sustains their business. So, and that to me is what makes business fun, when you're actually creating that profit and taking home the income that you started your business for.
Wait,
I like money.
Have a business for profit?
We did.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you actually want to create an income, not consistently feed your business.
Female do. Got it. All right. That's one thing we should be doing. Go
You
ahead.
can make nonprofits. That helps with tax purposes, but
you can go sign up for charity too.
You can do that too.
Charitable service, community service. It's fantastic.
Yeah, straight from Heidi's mouth. And I'm Kieran Angeli. I'm also one of the co-founders here. And I'm just all about having fun and going back to the basics of enjoying what you love instead of doing all the do that we're going to talk about, the do's and don'ts of why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? How come? Let's do it.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I think it's so funny because I want to go into like, there are do's and don'ts about being a female entrepreneur, because I think we hit so many things around this between the hustle and glide, what we have to do, what we should be doing, the shoulding we've talked about before. The shoulding all over the place is out of control.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Let's stop the shoulding. No, I think one of the big things that I saw we were discussing this morning. Ooh, we've got Kelly with us. Okay, we got everybody. Got Iante with us, hanging out with us on YouTube in our live chat. So either where you join us, we love this conversation. But one of the things that we were talking about was we were reading through a book that you actually recommended. And
what book was it?
It's The Tax-Free Wealth.
Oh, yes. So good.
Right?
So good, right?
They actually have a brand new copy coming out at the end of January. We're like,
oh, yeah. I want to take that course too. Can we talk about that for a minute? We're talking about all the courses we want to do in 2024. And I'm like, I want to do all of them. Can we do all of them?
Oh, it's so important to be doing all these different trainings and keep feeding your mind. One of the things I recognized early on was, I will say I got burnt out reading a lot of the business books out there. I'm not going to lie.
Same.
Yeah, right. Like I would go through and I'd start reading them, and I'd read like all these recommended business books and everything else. And what I found out is I was getting tired of them. I was getting burnt out. Like it didn't align anymore. And one of the things that we really talked about last year was how much the information is very masculine driven. It comes from a male point of view. All business is really being led, or a good majority, I would say like 90% of business education is being led by the men. So
which is fine. It's fine. It's just different.
Yeah. But then when I started looking for female business education, it was a woman teaching the male version of the business education. I was like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for either, right? Like, how do I find female business education? And then what we kind of realized, the three of us, in terms of building out Truth Bomb, is that we had to create it. Like we had to actually be the first to create it, because it just really doesn't exist in the form that I would like to see it in, and so many women would like to see it in, because we talk about it, so the one thing, so the book, let's go back to the book before I get off on this tangent.
So good. Such a good book.
So
We were
So
reading
yeah,
the
so
book.
the book is called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. He's the CPA for Robert Kiyosaki. So he knows his crap.
He knows his crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were reading through it and we noticed a discrepancy between what we teach and what's in the book. And we're like, ooh, that's, and in my mind, the first thing I had was like, that's incorrect. Like, it actually doesn't make sense to do that because the focus is on so much about reducing your taxes, but the focus is also on having a business and then subtracting your expenses. It's the first thing. And this is where I think so many of us get caught up in the business loop or the business lie around finances, is that we want those expenses to reduce our taxes. But what ends up happening is that we're so focused on adding more and more expenses to reduce our tax break that we're actually not taking the profit or paying ourselves because we're so focused on lowering taxes and getting out of that, which is what a lot of the financial education teaches, is how to lower your taxes. What they don't teach in some respects, I feel like when I look at all these books, is how to keep the profit. And the one book that we have really kind of dove into, which is like the unintuitive or the really more intuitive side of this. I think more female business entrepreneurs should be going through this side, which is the profit first strategy, where it's like the income comes in, take your profit, and then we'll go into your expenses and your taxes, because that's where you really want to be controlling that instead of being controlled by that. And I think that's one of the big things that I started looking at between like, what should we be doing as female entrepreneurs and what should we not be doing as female entrepreneurs? And one of the big things is don't get caught up in the rat trap, I would call it, or the cash flow. They use cash flow like profit, but cash flow is still what they're saying is the end game. But really, you want cash flow at the beginning. You want to take your profit first so that you can keep that money moving and then pay your expenses and then pay your taxes.
Yeah.
So it was just, for me, it was a little backwards.
It was. And it was like, but they made a phenomenal statement in the book about how it's like not going into business or investments uneducated.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't have an education around finances, especially, it's like, or it's like in business structures, it's like, don't go into them because everybody, you know, it's like they look, if you look at the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki created, and you always want to be on the, I think it's the left side, right?
Yeah, left side quadrant.
Left side,
you want to be a business and an investor.
A business and an active investor.
No, it's right side, because
I was gonna say it's the right side, but
right
I was gonna let you have it.
I'm not looking at the quadrant at the moment. It's the right side.
Yeah.
But you want to be, and you do. You want that passive income. You want those tax advantages and everything, but you don't. It's like it's crazy. It's like people will spend money at the end of the year just to reduce their tax bill. But it's like, is that money that you were going to spend, or are you just spending it to reduce your tax bill? Because if you're spending $100 to save 30, how much sense does that make?
It doesn't.
It's like, it doesn't make sense. So it's like, it's all about your strategy. It's all about strategically lowering your tax bill. It's not just willy-nilly, oh, I'm going to go buy a brand new car because that's going to reduce my tax bill. Did you really need a brand new car? Or was that even in this year's spending plan?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
to me, it's all about balance, because it's no longer about right, wrong, good, bad. It's just about the balance in it. So for me, I'm all about like, I love the Profit First because he speaks my love language. Like I literally read that book and I'm like, yes, 100%. This is how I live my life. Like this is how you feel good about your money at the end of the day. And then you look at Tom Wheelwright, where he's talking about tax-free wealth strategies, and he's got some really solid strategies that you may have to work up to, you know, like it's not something that you can implement necessarily right away, because like you said, Katrina and Heidi, like, why aren't we paying ourselves? Like, why aren't we paying ourselves first? Why isn't that part of the process? Because I don't know about you guys. Actually, I do know about you guys, but I didn't start Truth Bomb because I wanted to only have fun. I did want to make money along the way. Because for me, it's like I have a lot of value to give to the world. And I know that that value is in today's world, in today's society, reciprocated by things like money. So to be open to that is just being open to the energy of giving and receiving. It's just being open to that flow back and forth.
Right.
And so it comes down to the balance at the end of the day, and discovering for yourself what actually, like I always say this whenever I'm talking about anything that I'm looking to start in Truth Bomb or looking with finances, how do I feel about that? And that feeling may change, and I accept that also, because that feeling changes as I start to feel either more comfortable with it, or I start to feel like I can take on something else, or I start to feel like whatever it is. At the end of the day, the feeling really helps to guide, how do I move forward with this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, okay, like the feeling tells me that I need to get more information on this before I take a step.
Well, and I think for me, part of this is pulling apart or uncovering the veil, because we've learned, all three of us, is like, where are you getting your information from? Is it information that is going to keep you stuck? Is it missing elements? Like we've talked about this a lot, that there's information out there, but it's missing pieces of it. Like there are things that have been either deleted or removed around this information. So one of the things I look at, that's why I dive deeper into like the profit first strategy. Then I've read Robert Kiyosaki's books. I've read, a lot of the different financial books out there, and I look at what's missing. And I'm always looking at what's the connection between the two, is because I don't look at it as either wrong or right. I look at what's in the middle, what's not being said. And for me, it's not around like this book is better than this one, but what I look at is what's not being said. What is the piece that's not being taught in here? Because if it was in there and it was in that place, people still wouldn't believe it. Right. So when you talk about the feeling of money, when you talk about the intuition, when you talk about resting between investments, when you talk about not being pushed by money, a lot of the times I read some of these financial books and I feel like I'm being pushed. Like it really has that a sense inside the books of being pushed to do it this way. This is the better way. This is the way you should be doing it. But I feel like when you get that kind of information, that it feels like it's got to be happening now, it's got to be taking place now. And like you said, Karen, sometimes we need to sit with it, sometimes we need to breathe through it, sometimes we just need to do a little more research. So one of the interesting things is, and I know Iante is watching with us, and we all know energy, or money is energy. It is nothing more than a positive or an energy force that moves between peoples. It's part of the exchange, right? So do you feel good about your money? Are you holding on to it? I know we talk about this a lot inside of Unlocking My Millions, are you afraid of letting money go? Are you holding on to it so tightly that you're being thrifty and that you're trying not to spend and you're more focused on the savings? Or what I really like around the profit first strategies, it focuses on the abundance. Learn to take that money first, which is, for me, feels more like the abundance strategy, right? If money comes in, I can pay myself, I can take care of me first, and then I can take care of my expenses, taxes, and everything else. But that's where it feels like the flow of how money works, the flow of how business works, the strategy is that it's all about reducing money, minimizing money, taking it down a notch. And here, what I love inside of what we teach inside of Unlocking My Millions is the abundance of money, right? The prioritization of, it's okay to pay yourself. It's okay not to reinvest every dollar back into your business, right? It is a currency, right? Energy is a currency. Love is a currency. Money is a currency. It's nothing with energy. So I'm always looking as, like, when we talk with female entrepreneurs, what is being said to us, and then what can we look at? What's the paradigm shift? What's the different point of view that, if we're in place, would have women be more freed up around money? Because I think a lot of our education and a lot of our cultural upbringing has been, you're given this amount of money, this is your budget, this is all you have to spend, and we're trying to still live in that world even though we don't have to anymore. And so how do you unravel that? And I know, Karen, you're going to have some good ideas around this in terms of thinking, but I'm also curious for you, Heidi, like, what are your thoughts around kind of just what I shared?
Well, it's interesting when you use the word budget, and when we've always, like in the past, when I've looked at what budgeting or the family budget or whatever, and it always seems like it came from lack. It was like, how much can we, like, we can only have this amount for this. We only have this amount for this. We only have this amount for this. And whereas it's like when we're looking at it through Profit First and through the cash management system, it's like we're actually looking at, it's like, we're taking that money, we're paying ourselves, we're looking at the profit, we're looking, and you're right, it's all about the abundance. It's like actually taking that and not looking at it, it's like, oh, we have this expense, it has to get paid, it has to, and it's like, and all the money goes to that one pot. Whereas it's like when you actually have an effective cash management system, it takes the stress away, for one thing, and it also it frees up your mindset around it, because it's like, at least for me, it has, and it's like, and it has become more of an energy and a currency, and it's like, and it's taken the good and bad away from it too. I think in the past, it's like, it's always been a bad thing when the money is gone, and the money is like, or the money has to be over here, and it's I don't know. It was just, it was like a different energy around it. And because it was all of lack, and it was all of, there's another word I was trying to think of and I can't right now, but having that abundance mindset that we have, like, and it's not just around money, it's around everything that we do inside a Truth Bomb. And
I just put that there because it picks up on the speaker over there too.
I was like, what are you do with that?
Nothing, but because it's on this side, they might be hearing you over on Clapper. So I just want to make sure that they can actually hear you.
Yeah. So it's I think for me, just having the, like, and it's because I think that you can have cash management, it feels just like a budget, or you can have a cash management system that is based around the abundance. And I think that's what we've done here inside. We've taken the Profit First system, and what we've done with it inside Truth Bomb, it's like, it's out of abundance as everything else is.
Yeah. I love that.
I mean, for me, I've never had an icky feeling when somebody says the word budget, because for me, it's just, where's your money going? Like, where's it going? Like, you should know this. It shouldn't be willy-nilly, like, ever, because if it's willy-nilly, Iante's saying she can hear us on 2 places.
Yes, excellent.
But if you're doing willy-nilly with your money, it creates so much stress. I do not live my life like that, because I don't want to. I don't want to have so much focused attention on, oh my God, I have to pay this bill and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Like, I don't want to live like that. That's not for me. Never has been, never will be. I'm super grateful that my parents, when I was young, were like, okay, we're going to show you how to deal with money early on. And so, like, that always stuck with me. And Heidi, you talk about how you did this with your kids with the jars that Dave Ramsey talks about. Similar for me as well. So I had an understanding of how to do these things. But one thing that happens when we get, as female entrepreneurs, we get into a business, and now we're just putting in, like, we're getting all this money, we're putting in a lot of money into the business. And then we're like, ooh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, I want to do this, I want to do that. You don't even, like, you can't really even do that in your personal finances, like, you have to know where your money's going at the end of the day. And it really comes down to, do you want your money to run you, or do you want to run your money? Yeah. And it really is like, it's your thoughts around it at the end of the day. And the whole lack and abundance can easily be shifted by simply knowing, where is it going, and not in a controlling way, not in a I'm a cheapskate way.
Right.
There's not, and here's the thing, cheapskate and being frugal, those are 2 separate things. That's another thing that I got to say. Like, being frugal and understanding, like, this is what I have in this particular account, or in this jar, if you're doing it by how Dave Ramsey talks about, this is how much money I have. That's it. Like, that's it. That's all I have.
It's choosing those things that are important to you also. And I think every person is different. And that's like, There are some things that we don't spend money on as individuals, right? And there are some things that we'll spend a little bit more money on as individuals. And it's all based on personal preference, right? And then how you choose to live your life, because everybody chooses to have a different type of lifestyle. That's the beautiful thing, right? It's about how do you want to create your life? What's most important for you? And the moments like what we're talking about inside of Unlocking My Millions is really getting you back to the feeling and the experience of what it is to be building a business, especially as a female entrepreneur, right? Because I think we get so caught up in the shame and blame. I know I heard this the other day when we were at a networking event, how these women are building businesses. And it was so interesting because majority of them did say that they feel like they're very much in their masculine energy with business, very much so. They're always in there. And they don't know how to transition from that masculine to feminine, like, because there's not really a training, because all the business, again, I'll just say all the business information coming at you is a very masculine. So how do you bring in the feminine if there's no role model to role model feminine?
Well, the truth of the matter is that our culture is highly masculine focused too, because it's highly focused on. So let's talk about the difference between the two. Like feminine is more of the flow, the ease, the creativity. Right. I'm going to not jump straight into something. I'm just going to see how it goes. It's more flow and ease. Whereas masculine is all about do, take the action. This is what you need to get done. This is your daily to-do list of operations. Yep. And there's nothing right or wrong about either one. But when you blend, when you blend the two, you as a person feel better. I know yesterday I was highly masculine and I did not love it. I was like, I am working like go, run. And it was just because I was creating a feeling inside of me that I needed to go faster. And so by noticing that, like, that's my big downfall in business. And I've noticed that that's what holds me back, is by the feeling of, oh my God, I'm behind. I need to go. That's what holds me back. And so when I realize that I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, pause. It's not easy to pause either. And sometimes when you do pause, you'll go, okay, I pause. Now I can go back into it. And I find myself doing that sometimes too. So it's really finding that balance for yourself as you go. And you're going to have days where you're like, I nailed it today. You're also going to have days where you're like, damn, I just was on, and now I'm tired.
Well, and I go back to the women because it was really interesting. Every single one of them. And we had people in there that were in media. We had people in there that were in coaching. We had people that were in there that were CPAs. We had individuals in there that were like, it's a good variety, right? Pastures, ones that are just really affluential in what they're doing for the area that we were in. And it was so interesting. They talk about just being in business and feeling guilt around building their business because it takes away what they're really intending for their business to be, which was to give them flexibility and spend more time with their family. It seems counterintuitive to what they're actually creating. So when you're talking to these women and we're talking about, what it is to be a female entrepreneur and understand that they're still grappling. Like, I know we've spent the last year grappling with it too, but it's like there's still majority of women in female entrepreneurship are still trying to grapple with, I get fat men, I get feminine, give me an example. Because while we talk about it intuitively, when we talk about it it's almost like an intangible conversation that you're having. How do you bring it into the tangible? Where are moments that we can talk about this? And so I had one of the lady that was running the event, Aubrey, she was fantastic, just a beautiful, amazing woman. And she's like, oh my God, I'm always in my masculine because I'm in media, I'm like building businesses, I'm in leadership. And she's just like, I know I'm there. And she's like, and I said, we always talk about like good books to read. She's like, oh my gosh, I use my car as a library all the time. I said, stop doing that. And she looked at me, she's like, but that brings me joy. I said, does it really bring you joy? Because I'm going to challenge a lot of what we believe is bringing us joy as women, because I feel like it's so in the masculine. I said, so you sit there and you just listen to these business audible books day after day after day after day. I said, where are you playing? She's like, it is play. I'm like, are you sure? I'm challenging the thought process because I said, where are you adding in that music? Where are you adding in what you like to do? Not just because it's part of the business culture, because we're being trained to do this. I promise you this. We're being trained to treat our cars like the audio library. I've heard this all the time. And I did that for a long time. But what I realized is that I miss my music. I miss rocking out and singing to my music and jamming in my car. So one of the things that I, look at is like, where's the ebb and flow in that? Right? Is always getting that onset of education, of always trying to, be in the next node to try to get and stay ahead in that technology or stay ahead in that media. Where might you as a female entrepreneur in the world of give yourself grace to actually fall back into something more creative, fall back into listening something that really, and I challenged it. She's like, I'm going to take that on. So it wasn't like she was against it. She was like, it was not in her, or in her awareness. And I think that's one of the things that we look at when we're building Unlocking My Millions is bringing back an awareness of what we intuitively know, but maybe haven't been practicing.
Yeah.
And that was something that was just really kind of obvious. The more I sat with these groups of women, the more I talked with them, there's an awareness of it, but then there's like, what's a habit? What is something they can actually put in to shift and change that? And I don't know the answer, but I do like being that person that questions, are we sure that that's the best thing for you? Right? Or might there be something else that brings you joy? Are you like, sit with it and really be with that? Because I feel like we've been told this is what we have to do. So there's an expectation of doing it, but I always ask, is it true? And for some, it actually might be. And for others, it may not.
Yeah. I mean, for some, it actually might be listening to books in their car. Like my brother would never stop reading a book if he didn't have to. Like he would always have his head in a book. That's just who he is. And he loves it. My mom's the same way. They both just will read all day long. So yes, if that's your happy place truly, then that's your happy place. But one of the things that really helps me understand me more is meditation. And that's the reason that I teach a lot of it inside of Unlocking My Millions and inside of Truth Bomb Academy, because I've never discovered anything else that's helped me sit with myself long enough to really understand how I tick. Like there's nothing else that I've discovered. I've tried a lot of things, and I would love it if somebody shared another way, because I would probably add it on top of my meditation practice. But it's one of those things that when you sit with yourself and you really sit with yourself so how I do my meditation practice, it is guided. However, before I do the guided meditation, as well as after, I have reflection time. I reflect over, how do I want to feel? How don't I want to feel? What do I want to experience today? What do I want to create today? So I'm creating an intention, and I'm doing this by myself without anybody coaching me. Nobody's telling me to do this. And then I listen to my guided meditation and have some pretty phenomenal, like wild, out of this world experiences just from doing that. And then after I'm done, I have some reflection time as well, where I allow my body to integrate what I just did. Because it is an integration process, because you are literally tapping when you actually are meditating and you get to some deep levels of meditation, you are tapping into a source that is like, I don't want to say bigger than you, because it is you, but it's like a big body of knowledge that you just naturally have, that you haven't been tapping into on a regular day-to-day basis, because we're so distracted by the material world. We're so distracted by what we see around us, and we forget that we have so much power just inside of our thoughts, inside of our feelings alone, that we can create, that we can imagine, that we can draw magnetically back to us. And it's one of those things, like, if you want to be creative, have some time and daydream. Like, what did you do when you were a kid? You played with your imaginary friends, or at least I did. I played Barbies with my imaginary friends. We had tea, we did the whole deal. Like, that's what you did as a child.
Yeah.
How come we can't do that again as an adult? And how come, this is what I want to challenge, how come that is said, no, don't do that. You're being lazy if you're being creative in that way. You're just being lazy. You're procrastinating. You're not doing the things you need. And maybe that's true. Like, here's the thing. I'm not here to judge. You're your own judge at the end of the day. You're your own judge and jury. So ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm trying to avoid something? Or am I doing this because I want to get really creative with what my life could look like? That is how you get really freaking creative. And you start to see beyond, sometimes you see beyond what you initially would have seen just by opening your eyes and seeing the material world. There's a whole other world behind your eyes in your imagination.
And I think it's interesting if you go back through a lot of some of the earlier business books that either have been updated or changed, they actually talk about time periods where they would actually hire people. They would have them sit in a dark room, give them something to work on, and they would literally sit there for hours being paid thousands of dollars to come up and brainstorm with their ideas, right? It is actually something that I think we've removed from our culture because we're looking at technology and AI to be all that for us.
Do it for us.
But it's not. We still have to do the thinking, right? We still have to spend that time in contemplation and getting back into that feminine creative energy and really listen to our bodies and what the universe is telling us. This is why we talk about the power of the mastermind, right? If you've never read Think and Grow Rich, read it. It's one of the back chapters. If you can get that far, you're way ahead of the curve. But one of the things it talks about is that when two minds come together, there's actually a third mind or a third brain created, right? And this is the power of doing things in groups. And so many times we want to do everything on our own. We want to problem solve on our own. We're looking to be that solo entrepreneur as women. And the thing is like, what would it look like to bring in another person? What would it look like to get into collaboration? Because that mastermind, and if you're not in a mastermind as an entrepreneur, go find one, right? Go be a part of one, go get involved in one, go create one yourself. But I have learned when I first started entrepreneurship, I recognized the mastermind was going to be the thing that was going to shift business for me. And it has been always. The moment I get creative and I go and I sit down with a bunch of other entrepreneurs from all different walks of life, I never get with entrepreneurs that are only in a specific industry. I want them in. I do absolutely believe in collaboration around different businesses. I don't think anyone should be feeling like there's somebody out there. But the moment I sit down with real estate investors, when I sit down with media giants, when I sit down with somebody that's, a dental hygienist, when I sit down and I listen to how they're building their business, I get so much more out of that mastermind than just trying to be singularly into one, because I like the collaboration behind it. Because what I've discovered is that there was a piece around business or around my life that I never considered because I'm so wrapped into one entity. Now, the exception to that is if I'm looking to brainstorm or mastermind around a certain problem, then having people of a certain caliber around a certain idea or problem, which is why you never just have one mastermind group. This is why you never have just one coach, right? This is where it challenges you. And I love this about my volleyball career. So I was in volleyball for over 9 years, and in 9 years, I had 8 different coaches. And most people would look at that and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't have a consistent coach. And I looked at it and said, I got the best from each one of those people. And I learned what didn't work for me because we went through different skill sets and different things. So I learned how my body moved. And I also started to understand, how people teach, how different people react to you. And I think that's one of the things that I always challenge people is that get outside of your comfort zone and go find people and places and activities that you're like, I would never do this, and go see what it's like. That for me is a big piece of the puzzle too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
It's not just you.
Just
me.
Just you.
Going out and meeting all sorts of people. I find it fascinating because especially in the world of business, when you talk about tax-free wealth, they talk about real estate, they talk about banking, they talk about stocks, they talk about Forex. I love meeting all those people from those industries. When you talk about entrepreneurship, you talk about motivation, you talk about this. I love meeting people from those industries. When you talk about technology, you get all those tech people from all different areas of backgrounds of tech. I love those people. And I feel like each of us holds a piece of the puzzle, but we're not talking to each other. To some extent, right? And so I always find myself how do I help bridge some of this information, especially for women, to bring in and source really powerful information that fits in or aligns with more of how women approach business, how women come across life, how we take care of family. Like, what might that look like? And I think that's one of the fun parts, for me at least. I'm a connector, by the way, just in case you guys didn't know. I like finding people and connecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Any other female do's and don'ts that you guys have come across recently, popping out of your brains?
I mean, one big thing that, like, don't do this.
Oh, there's a don't.
There's a
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't do this, is feeling like you have to do something the way that someone tells you to. That feeling like, and here's the thing, like, test it. Absolutely test it. If somebody says, hey, this worked really, really well for me, go ahead and test it. But don't feel like you have to be stuck in it if you don't like it. Like, that's big. Don't do that. Like, why do we limit ourselves? That's crazy. Crazy. Don't do it.
It is. And it's like, and following something just because they follow it. I know it's like, because I got stuck in that same thing about listening to podcasts or listening to Audible books and feeling like if I didn't, I was not using my time effectively because I had limited time. I was raising 3 kids. I was homeschooling them. If I got a moment in the car by myself, it was always, I have to be productive with this moment. No, I think what really would have helped me was to just let my mind go.
Yeah,
And
I don't listen to anything in the car. I just go like nothing's playing.
I know. It was like, well, I felt like I had little tiny pockets that I could do what I wanted to do. And I was like, I need to use this time effectively. And so
that's the biggest recipe for burnout. I have this pocket of time. I'm going to do all of this in this pocket of, no, don't build your business in pockets of time. That's exhausting.
No, you're right. It's totally exhausting.
Yeah.
And I would go. And then there would come a day where I would just totally crash or I would get bronchitis or something. And it was like where my body was telling me, it's like, whether you like it or not, you're stopping.
You're done.
And you're done. You're done. And it was like, well, who wants to get to that point? We want to be able to enjoy what we're doing while we're doing it. And it's like, and I think that for me has just been the biggest mind shift this year. Yeah. And it was like, and that alone has just changed so much.
Yeah. I had to go through that experience very difficultly. In 2020 was my turning point where I was like, 2019 was probably the worst year of my life. Probably the worst year of my life because I didn't love what I was doing. I was exhausted. I was working full time at the hospital and building a business. And I was just exhausted all the time. It was literally like I was sick. I was not happy. I didn't get to spend as much time with my husband. Like, that wasn't fun. At a certain point, it's like, why am I doing this? So 2020, I went, how do I slow down while still getting what I need to done? Yeah. And so for me, and I talked about this earlier, for me, I had to let that part of me go that was like, oh, you have to do this right now. Right. And somebody told me that I had to do this. And so I have to do it right now. So what I encourage anyone to do is know yourself. If you're the person that's like me, that's like the go-getter, that's like, I got to get everything done ASAP, know that you need to slow down. But if you're the opposite, where you're like, I don't want to do anything, nothing motivates me, like, let's put a little bit of a fire under your butt. It's about finding that balance between what you need. Because I'm telling you right now, that right there is what's holding you back. I'm just saying, like, that right there, whether you are, I gotta go, or you're, I don't want to do anything, you've got to find that balance between the two. Discover for yourself, because I can't tell you that about yourself. I can't tell you what you're feeling as you're doing a certain project. You are the one that tells you how you feel while you're doing a project. Are you enjoying the project, or are you feeling like it has to get done right now, or XYZ is going to happen, or I just don't really want to do this because I just want to go take a nap. Like, figure out for yourself where you fit on that scale. This is where the whole self-awareness, and we talk about this inside Unlocking My Millions, your self-awareness of who you are inside your business can go a long way. And we're all so different. So allow yourself to give yourself some time to understand yourself and how you work and find that balance for yourself.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why when we started unlocking my millions and building this out, it did take us time to build out this training and basically rewiring and re-looking at how women approach business, because that was the big thing. It's like, where do you take that intangible and start putting it into the tangible of business so that you can unlock your millions, as we can create more female millionaires, so that you do have that space to do it, right? And when we were looking at this, we said the first thing you have to do is you have to do the self-awareness and discovery. You have to understand that your thinking dictates everything you're doing in business. And that conversation literally pulls through everything we've done inside of Unlocking My Millions. There isn't a piece of business that doesn't go back to, get you present to, whether you're talking about, what is the business idea, not talking about, we're talking about your audience, we're talking about your brand, we're talking about your finances, we're talking about your marketing, we're talking about collaboration. See, these are all pieces of business. And most of us have gotten this separated out. The traditional business world has separated all this information and sold it off individually. And what we've done is we've really looked at how do we bring it back all together and make it more cohesive for women. And Karen has started off, and we all start off with, what is your thinking, feeling loop, right? What is your belief, think, feel loop? What is your most awareness? Like, we ask very hard hitting questions, and I will tell you, these questions will make you uncomfortable. And they're done that way for a reason. And they're going to get you thinking, because if you're not thinking about what it is that's most important to you, and you're not taking that into the business world, that's a big don't for female entrepreneurs, right? For female entrepreneurs, you do want to understand what is your driving force, how do you feel, and then connecting that and bringing that into your business. That's one big shift, is like pulling that importance of why you're doing this and understanding how you think and what's important, because you've written it down. Like, you've probably seen it about 10 times at the end of this exercise that we have you do, because you're going to see the repeat pattern of why you're writing stuff down, or what has you write the stuff down. And inside of that, then we say, okay, now let's talk about business. Now let's talk about what you're really building, because that was part of the conversation, is that, yes, I always heard at all these meetings and these events and these workshops that I hosted or I was a part of, like, yeah, mindset's important, but first we need to teach marketing. First we need to teach this, right? And then, because no one's going to pay for mindset, is what I've been told year after year after year after year.
Yeah. And there's a lot of gurus like Tony Robbins that would definitely say, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah. But the thing is like, it is what you think. And then it's also getting present to, I think for women, really, because we have this, we were talking about this at the meeting and different meetings I've met with. Women have the identity of, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm this, I'm that. And we wear these identities, and then we try to separate these identities out into these like specific activities in our life. And what we really want to bring together is the whole woman inside of the world of business, right? How do you bring all those hats together and get you feeling really cohesive? As my dog is sitting here snoring, you probably can't hear, but she sounds really loud over here. Good. But how do you bring that wholeness? How do you bring that cohesiveness instead of separating? It's like, well, I'm the mom here and I'm failing at that because I'm focused on my business and I'm in my relationships. How do we holistically bring that back together? And for me, that first part of going through Unlocking My Millions and really sitting with yourself inside of that question section of this is the key to unlocking so much around what it is you're really up to, and then how to bring it all together as a female entrepreneur.
Yeah, for me, whenever I go through that, the thing that I write down all the time is, I'm a creator and I like to have fun. That's literally like throughout this entire thing. And so, like, one of the questions, it really focuses on, who are you?
Yeah.
And my answer, I'm a creator. I'm a freaking manifester. Like, I am here to create whatever I want. And how do I do that? With my feelings. So for me, when I tap into the feeling of fun, that's when I get to create the most.
Yeah.
The thing that I've said for years that this was very it's very self-aware of me to know this way back when I started in my entrepreneurial journey. But I always said that if you know anything about, so Tom Big Al Schreider, he is big in the network marketing world, right? It's similar to DISC, but he has like a color system. And the color system, like you have your red personality, which is like your driver, your go personality, your blue, which is your fun personality, your yellow, which is your giving, and then your green, which is your analytical, right? So similar to DISC, if you know what DISC is too, there's other similar things as well. But for me, what happened when I first started in business, because I didn't know how to not control it, but I didn't know how to be aware and then pivot from there. What happened for me is I went into this highly red, highly driver mode, and I'm not that person. If I'm most balanced, I lead with blue, which is the fun. I lead with that. For me, that is like what I enjoy the most. So what happened is that I just got so far imbalanced because I was doing all the time. I was doing this driver mode and getting things done. And while that's great, I was getting stuff done, I was just exhausted and still working through the exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
You just get to a point where you are just doing and you're not really paying attention to what you're doing anymore. You
Does
stop paying
anybody
attention.
that's a woman resonate with this? Because I'm hearing a lot for myself because I've gone through this phase too, and I've met a lot of you women out there. So if this sounds familiar, let us know, because I have a feeling that's going to resonate with about a good 75+% of women out there that are in that, especially in the world of entrepreneurship.
That's why I love personality tests. I find them extremely fascinating. And it was like I've done different variations of the DISC, whether it's colors or gems or the different things. And then you do things like the Enneagram, and then what's the other big one?
There's the bank code.
The bank code, and then the
how you buy.
Yeah, and there's all these different ones, and it's like what I love, it's discovering more about who you are. And there's positive attributes, there's possibly negative attributes, but it's just like it's all the blend and it's the balance, and it's like, and it makes you a beautiful individual. And it points out the uniqueness of each of us, and I love that. And it's like, and when you are working in your ideal personality area, it's like it works so much better. And it makes it fun, whether you are that fun that blue or you are naturally that red. If you are that red and that is what you enjoy, that is fun for you. And it's just like, because that's working into your genius.
Yeah. And then you've got your yellows and you've got your greens, which I love my analyticals. We have one on our team. She's super, super green. She's as green can be.
We love her and we need her.
And we need her. So it's like, it's not that it's good or bad to be one of them, just knowing where your balance is. And I think what's beautiful, and we've got to wrap up here because we've got another training come up in just a few minutes. One of the things is when you understand what your strength is, it's finding and creating those partnerships of people that are in the different areas that you can bring together, that you guys support and highlight each other. And I think when you understand how people think and how they communicate, it really allows for you to create a more cohesive business for yourself. And I do invite you to do some of these personality tests with your family, because understanding your kids, because they're all different, right? Every person is different. So when you can understand how to speak and how to engage with different people and in that teaching and that understanding, you become a better active listener. And active listening is the key to really understanding how to build those win-win relationships that are really important and very much needed in the world of business.
Yeah.
So with that, if you guys are joining us and you guys want to, we stick around. So every Tuesday we go live here on Clapper and YouTube. We have a lot of fun doing this. We also have our podcast, Did She Really Say That? So if you guys want to hear more about this information, we are going to be bringing on experts and other female entrepreneurs. So you definitely want to tap into Did She Really Say That? Find us on your favorite podcast station. If you're watching us here on YouTube, definitely give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We love this interaction and engagement. And I see a lot of people chatting with us this morning, so it's always good to hear from you all. And with that, I'd also invite you to go and unlock your millions. If you're a female entrepreneur that wants to scale and grow her business with fun, play, and ease, then you're invited to join us inside of Unlocking My Millions. And you can go there right now and head over to truthbombmarketing.com and go ahead and unlock your millions. Join us today and really get started on the journey of self-discovery, business, life, fun, and finances. So with that, hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you guys for checking in and playing with us. And we will see you here around social media. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Good morning, Julio. Yep.